Crying Ryan. I have finally figured out why the worldwide leader in woke was so comfortable firing Father Jalen Rose, former lead pastor at Woke United Methodist. I have finally figured out why ESPN wasn't concerned in the least about defending themselves against charges of mythical racism, which would be applicable to the firing of Father Jalen under Section 1, Paragraph 2 of the First Woke Commandment. I finally figured it out. ESPN was not worried about the backlash to firing the former esteemed pastor, and I'm sure you guys noticed there was no backlash to ESPN firing Jalen Rose. The reason there was no backlash, ESPN already had his replacement on staff. They promoted Rodgers-Clark, better known as Crying Ryan, for his amazing ability to produce fake tears while he's telling stories of fake racism. ESPN promoted Rodgers-Clark from his former position of Captain Doofus to the prestigious position of lead pastor at Woke United Methodist. You know, whether you like it or not, and most people don't, there are levels in life. There is such a thing called status. Street soldiers in the mafia, they would not dare approach the boss. Why? It wasn't their place. Stephen A. Smith, he would never come on my channel or invite me on his channel. Why? Because I'm not on Stephen A's level. Stephen A is a big star. I'm just some dumbass. It's the same reason that you're not going to see me as a guest on local news coverage in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Why would I do that? I have a national platform. My biggest markets are New York City and San Francisco. Why would I want to do a guest spot where I am reaching the guy responsible for regulating cow farts on a farm in Sheboygan? For some reason, Rodgers-Clark is living in this strange delusion that he's on the same level as Aaron Rodgers, both as a football player and as a mainstream star. Someone's made this dude believe, and it's probably Rodgers-Clark lying to himself, but this dude has bitten into the self-serve shit sandwich, and he has made himself believe that he is on the same level as Aaron Rodgers. If Rodgers-Clark wants to analyze Aaron Rodgers, quarterback for the New York Jets, fine. Besides his status as the ultimate victim, ESPN is paying Rodgers-Clark to analyze the NFL. Now, unlike his pretend friend Mina Kimes, Rodgers-Clark, he is actually qualified to analyze the NFL because he actually played in the league. The problem in this situation for Rodgers-Clark, he seems to have steered the Bruce Caboose off track. Crying Ryan is desperately trying to make this controversy between himself and Aaron Rodgers personal, not professional, personal. If you're gonna swing above your level, you better be damn sure you're right. And you better be sure that the person you're swinging at was swinging at you first. The arrogance of Rodgers-Clark had him believing that Aaron Rodgers was talking about him last week when he took a devastating doodle on the garbage that ESPN calls sports coverage. Now, me personally, I thought Aaron Rodgers was talking about Mina Kimes, which he probably was. But Aaron Rodgers, he never mentioned anyone by name. He was just shitting on ESPN as a network. And rightfully so, because ESPN's coverage of sports, it is grade A trash. Aaron Rodgers, he didn't mention anyone by name. He damn sure did not mention Rodgers-Clark by name. And why in the hell would he? Why would Aaron Rodgers go out of his way to make Rodgers-Clark famous? And that's the reason Rodgers-Clark is desperately clinging to this one-sided feud. He's feeding his addiction to fame and trying to quench his unending desire for attention. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Let's get to the sponsor for today's video, my good friends at Fluffernoggin. It's holiday season, which means it's time for stuffing faces and arguing with family disgraces who are still watching the Yentas on The View. Over the next few weeks, you're going to be eating turkey and ham, but one thing that sometimes gets overlooked during the holidays, The snack food. I've got the snacks covered for you this holiday season with Fluffernoggin. Now, you're probably thinking, what the hell is a Fluffernoggin? Fluffernoggin produces craft beef jerky made with 100% organic brisket right here in America. You don't have to worry about consuming cows that were raised by Mahmoud on a farm halfway across the world. Fluffernoggin's cows are bred and raised right here in the USA. Fluffernoggin beef jerky is soft and tender, and it doesn't require the usual dental work after consumption to remove the tough pieces from your teeth. Fluffernoggin comes in a variety of flavors, ranging from sweet, savory, spicy, and sometimes all the above. With Christmas right around the corner, literally next week, Fluffernoggin would be the perfect stocking stuffer. Right now, they are offering two different specials. You can use promo code BTL50 to receive 5 bags for $50, or you can use promo code BTL100 to receive 11 bags for $100. Both offers come along with free shipping, so click the link in the description below. Elevate your snack game with Fluffernoggin today. Last week, during his weekly appearance with Pat McAfee, Aaron Rodgers took a verbal doodle on the quality of sports coverage at ESPN. More specifically, the declining quality of sports coverage at the worldwide leader in woke. Now, Aaron Rodgers, like I said, he did not mention anyone by name. He was simply talking about former NFL players and analysts in name only who have never stepped foot on an NFL field. Unless, of course, they were wearing stilettos. Now, the way I understood his criticism, Aaron Rodgers was mainly talking about Mina Kimes, the first pretend analyst at ESPN, the beautiful face of diversity, equity, and inclusion, the inspiration for those who think they are owed something based on their race and gender. My inside sources tell me Mina Kimes, she is extremely popular in the WNBA. Who knows, maybe this season Mina Kimes can pretend to analyze the dump. Maybe she can be a pretend basketball analyst. I mean, name another person more qualified to analyze the make-believe more than Mina Kimes. For some reason, Ryan Clark took Aaron Rodgers' criticism of ESPN as a personal shot against him. Last Friday, Stephen A. allowed Ryan Clark to take over First Take, where Crying Ryan put the audience to sleep with a painfully boring sermon. He addressed the criticism of Aaron Rodgers. No one cared. Everyone moved on. Tuesday, Aaron Rodgers, weekly appearance, Pat McAfee. Now this time, he made his criticism specific to Crying Ryan. He talked about Crying Ryan's fear of the Covey. He made fun of his passionate weekends with Aunt Fauci, where he added poke next to his proud status of woke. Aaron Rodgers also questioned why Ryan Clark felt the weird need to wear his initials on his coat and his shirt. Now, of course, the answer is rather obvious. Ryan Clark wears RC on his coat and shirt because most people have no idea who in the hell he is. Some people, they mistakenly call him Rex Chapman. He has been mistaken for Ray Charles. But since Ryan Clark wanted to make this all about himself, Aaron Rodgers, he briefly gave him the attention that he was begging for. Now, to summarize here, Ryan Clark took Aaron Rodgers' criticism of ESPN and made it all about himself. Aaron Rodgers responded. That should be end of story, right? Yesterday, Ryan Clark got on Twitter and he made a complete fool of himself. This unnecessary response was so bad. It was so embarrassing. There's absolutely no need for Aaron Rodgers to respond. Watch it for yourself.
Wanted to make sure all your people knew it was me. My name is Ryan Clark. Played 13 years in the NFL, been to 2 Super Bowls. I have as many rings as you do. I was the captain of 2 separate football teams. I'm also an Emmy winner. I'm also the co-host, owner, and partner of an Emmy-nominated podcast called The Pivot. My job is to analyze you. You've decided to analyze me. And in analyzing you, what I know is your QBR is 21st. I also know that you're the quarterback of a 4-10 team who has to win the last 3 games of the season to even be equal to what last year's team was without you. Now, I get it. You get on the show and You talk about my brooch and you curse and all this tough talk. I just need you to know, don't none of that scare me. I'm gonna do my job the way I'm supposed to do it. I feel no way about not being able to talk about what the film says because of what my career was. And if you continue to be arrogant or smug or hypocritical and it pertains to my job, I'm gonna do it. And I want to remind you again, I'm Ryan Clark. 13 years, Emmy winner, host of an Emmy-nominated podcast. And speaking of that jealousy and guest stuff, The Rock, Kevin Hart, Mike Tomlin, Devontae Adams, Joe Burrow, Shaq, just to name a few. No money, just relationships, conversations, and respect.
Could you be any more desperate? Could you beg any harder to be noticed? If you took a shot of Don's Lemons every time Ryan Clark introduced himself in that 4-minute clip, you would need an entire tube of Preparation H to cure your hangover. You know why Ryan Clark felt the need to list all of his accomplishments? You know why he felt the need, not once, but twice, to talk about his accomplishments? To mention his Emmy nomination as if anyone gives a shit, to list his famous friends that have been on his podcast, to highlight his accomplishments on the field in the NFL, to mention that he has won the same number of Super Bowls as Aaron Rodgers. You know why Ryan Clark felt the need to do that? Because he knows no one else knows. He knows you don't know. And he mistakenly believes that you care. Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't have to sit there and list his accomplishments. Why? Because it goes without saying. And that is the difference between Aaron Rodgers and Ryan Clark. That's the levels I was talking about at the beginning of the video. I know Ryan Clark doesn't want to hear it. You're not on Aaron Rodgers' level. And look, I'm not on Ryan Clark's level. I'm nowhere near his level. But you want to know the difference between Uncle KC and Ryan Clark? I don't care. I don't need external validation. I don't seek attention and fame. Bobby Burek over at Outkick, he wrote an excellent article about this situation between Aaron Rodgers and Ryan Clark. The sentiment of the article, Ryan Clark is a fraud. Now, according to Bobby, numerous colleagues of Ryan Clark at ESPN, they reached out to Bobby Burek today once the article was published. Crying Ryan's own colleagues admitted to Bobby Burek, Ryan Clark is a fraud. He's not respected at ESPN. No one likes him. And his woke welfare will expire at ESPN as soon as the worldwide leader in woke knows they can get away with firing him without charges of mythical racism. This is what the woke fungus does. This is what happens when you hire people based on the number of woke boxes that they check. Now, even though he is qualified to be an NFL analyst, Ryan Clark, he should not be working at ESPN in that role because his agent also represents current NFL players. That is a direct conflict of interest, but ESPN, they know they can't fire him because they know the first thing that Ryan Clark will do is accuse them of mythical racism. Give me your thoughts on this. Ryan Clark desperately tries to keep this feud with Aaron Rodgers alive. There's a lot of people desperate for attention in the mainstream media. Ryan Clark, he might be the most desperate of them all. This dude tries so hard to be accepted. He is so emotional over the situation with Aaron Rodgers, while Aaron Rodgers, he couldn't give a fuck less. Let me know what you think about this. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.